We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this show through a donation, hit the $sign. When you make a comment, create a super chat, and we'll get to your comment as soon as possible. Welcome in to the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. PATC community, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat and with your phone calls later in the show. We had no plans for a live show tonight. I was minding my own business. I wasn't even bothering the moderator, the one who rules with the iron fist. We actually had a date today. I wasn't going to do any. I wasn't going to cause any problems in the college football world. I was going to mind my own business. Army versus Navy. Army wins. Watched a little bit of South Dakota State Jackrabbits. They had a difficult game. North Dakota State did not have a very difficult game against South Dakota. I was minding my own business. Look, first of all, I want to thank everybody who gives me direct messages. I love it. One of the things is I learn what's going on in other places, region, state, articles coming up from newspapers that I would never see. PATC keeping their head on a swivel, giving me the information. I love it. I absolutely love it, and keep doing it. Please, please, please. I do not thank the PATC community enough for all that you do for this show. So thank you so very much. I like it when people put @FlugEmpire when there's some news breaking. I can see it on Twitter, what we call X now. I thank you very much. I also can sense what people are interested, what they're thinking, what is moving them in the college football world. When I have, and I'm not even going to give you the number because, first of all, you wouldn't believe me. Second of all, you'd be like, holy smokes. When I have all these DMs coming from the same type of story or direction or from the same tweet or article, I know that that's what the community is interested in. So sometimes I go poking and prodding just to make sure I understand. Sometimes I know right away, okay, well, and I don't always answer all the DMs because there are times where I'm overwhelmed. I have a life. But in the last, 48 hours, I have been inundated with direct messages. And again, don't stop. This is not a complaint. It's not a complaint. It's like, wow. Some rumor out there is catching wildfire, and I guess I should probably talk about it. So, this Florida State to the Big Ten in January. That's the rumor, right? It's going to be an announcement, possibly January 31st at the Board of Regents meeting. I was going to handle this. I was just going to put out a little episode. Kind of planning it that way. Telling Maria Hernandez Garcia Flugar, the moderator, I'm thinking, I'll just, give people my thoughts on this hot rumor that I didn't know was so hot until the PATC community told me it was hot in their unbelievable number of direct messages from unbelievable number of people. But then the rumor was carried by, well, we'll get into it. The rumor was carried by digital and newspaper. So then I was like, holy smokes. Mireya, I think I'm going to just do a live show. It might be a short one. It might be a long one. Who knows what news is going to break as we do this live show. Keep your head on a swivel. We're still waiting for Kyle McCord. Transfer news. Is he going to Nebraska? We're still waiting on Riley Leonard. Is he going to make the commitment to Notre Dame? Things break during the live show. Maybe the live show gets extended. It's really up to you all. But when I saw that the rumors took someone was talking about it that normally doesn't talk about it, now I think I've got to do a live show. So the moderator, Maria Hernandez Garcia Flugar, says, go ahead, go for it. So here I am in the studio, and let's talk about it. First of all, I want to thank everybody who has got into the chat room early on. Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye, he's first. Early peak member. James Foster's in the house. Go Sun Devils. Stephen McNeely, early peak member. He's second. Ryan Brooks, go Tigers. Ryan Brooks, early peak member. Chad Bracey's in the house. Tim Bales, Randy Taylor, Nathan, hi, how you doing? Cornelius Green, praise the Lord. Greg, absolutely. The moderator's in the house. Red Raider, Laura Weiss is in the house. Kiran Shakar is in the house. Shaved, excuse me, Shaved the Banana. FSU Clemson is in the house. Ryan Matson is in the house. JD Turtle, early peak member. Always a pleasure, Greg. Always a pleasure to have JD Turtle in the chat room. Greg causing problems. Ted Evans is in the house. Early peak member. AMAC, howdy. Carl Jacobs is in the house. T-Duck is in the house. Obsidian. The Duck's going to go get Dante Moore as well as Dylan Gabriel. Holy smokes. Dylan Gabriel only has, one year of eligibility. An unbelievable pickup for the Oregon Ducks. Unbelievable. He's going to be perfect in that system. I talked about it in episode 342. I dropped it early this morning. If you haven't listened to it, give it a look after this live show. Son of Sarek, we are live. Early peak member, Colorado Buffalo, Richard L. is in the house. Sean is in the house. Big Ten fan, early peak member is in the house. Atani. $700 million. $700 million. 10 years. I tweeted out, it's like 432,000 something. I don't know what the 400 and some $1,000 a game. A game. Wow. Grateful Trojan is in the house. Thanks for everybody for coming on in. So let's not waste any more time. Jason Isaac is in the house. Nick Kelso. Sam 8911SK is in the house. Okay. So before we get into you know what, let's get through the article first, and then I'll start giving you my thoughts. The Tallahassee Democrat. The Tallahassee Democrat. There are times we do articles from the Tallahassee Democrat. Is FSU leaving for the ACC? Is FSU leaving the ACC for the Big Ten after being left out of the playoffs? Here's what we know. Dan Warbaugh, this dropped today. And this is why I said, holy smokes. Yes, I'm going to have to do a late Saturday night live show just to clear the air. It's been a rough week for Florida State football fans. The undefeated ACC champions Seminoles were left out of the college football playoff, and a lot of people are understandably very mad about it. Is it the straw that broke the camel's back for the FSU's time in the Atlantic Coast Conference? FSU doesn't have the best history with its conference. Fights over TV rights deals and the ever-expanding influence of the Big Ten and the SEC have led to years of speculation about Florida State bolting for greener pastures. A new round of rumors sprouted after the College Football Playoff Committee opted to let a pair of one-loss teams play for a national championship while the 13-0 Seminoles are left to play for a consolation prize in the Orange Bowl. This one claims FSU could decide within the next month whether to leave for the Big Ten. And this is the rumor, right? FSU could leave next month for the Big Ten. Is there anything to the rumors? Here's what we know. Why would Florida State leave the ACC? For years, Florida State leaders have been vocal in their displeasure. Again, this is from the Tallahassee Democrat today. For years, Florida State leaders have been vocal in their displeasure of the conference revenue sharing plan. Most complaints circle around the ACC's TV contract, with ESPN, which extends through the 2036, even as the network makes substantial cuts. The Big Ten signed a 7-year, $8 billion deal. Next year, the SEC starts a 10-year, $3 billion deal to move CBS to ESPN. This is all known. Those deals include huge payouts for the schools. Florida coach Billy Napier said the projections show each SEC school would get millions more from the new deal, rising from $55 million to potentially more than $70 million. Florida State Athletic Director Michael Alford said the Big Ten schools will receive about $80 million each year from its TV contract, whereas Florida State currently receives $42 million. The final straw might have been the Florida State football team going undefeated and winning the ACC championship, but still being left out of the college football playoff. What are the rumors that Florida State is leaving for the Big Ten? After missing out on the college football playoff, talk circulated that because the ACC wasn't strong enough conference, Florida State would immediately start looking for ways to exit and enter either the Big Ten or the SEC. Similar rumors grew out of the summer's latest round of conference expansion when Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah announced that they will leave for the Pac-12 for the Big 12. Stanford, California, SMU announced they were leaving for the ACC, and Washington and Oregon said they were joining Southern California and UCLA and joining the Big Ten. On December 6th, Twitter user and I don't know how to pronounce this handle. I apologize to the individual. Mahiver3. I don't know how to say that. Mahiver, I'll just say Hiver3, posted a rumor that Florida State would decide at a meeting on January 31st whether to swap conferences, with the Big Ten being more likely. This is his tweet, Mahiver. In ACC news, I'm being told that there will be a significant meeting on January 31st at Florida State that could decide the future conference affiliation. SEC has shown no interest in adding them or Clemson, but the Big Ten has, depending on what the networks would pay. And then finally, on December 8th, on December 8th, Twitter account Blue Blood Bias reaffirmed the post and broke down the decisions between the Big Ten and the SEC. Report, Florida State may leave the ACC for the Big Ten within the next month. Back in August, Florida State Board of Trustees came out with a public statement threatening to leave the ACC because of how far the conference is falling behind financially. The SEC is very unlikely, the post reads. The conference is aligned with ESPN, the network at the forefront of the college football playoff collusion scandal. It's been reported that the SEC is more interested in Virginia and North Carolina from the ACC. That leaves the Big Ten. Florida State would earn $40 million a year raise in the Big Ten compared to the current situation in the ACC. Plus, there's mutual interests on both sides. It's a no-brainer. And then finally, is the Florida State Board of Trustees meeting to leave for the Big Ten? The Board of Trustees website shows the next meeting is scheduled for January 31st, February 1st. There's no itinerary listed. There was a rumor, and I didn't even hear about this rumor, There was a rumor that an emergency meeting had been scheduled on Friday, December 8th and canceled. The Florida State's president office said those claims were false. Board of Trustees meeting must be announced 2 days in advance. Okay. Let's back up a second. First of all, how do I say this? Let's go back to February, I don't know, it was February 22nd, 23rd, 24th. We had Peek Around the Corner. We had heard so much information with our sources behind the curtain that the media deal wasn't coming together for the Pac-12. You all saw what we did in February, March, April, May, June, July. On February, we said, February 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, we said for the first time the odds favored that the Big 12 was going to be able to poach from the Pac-12. And that had become the chalk, the favorite. And we never moved from that. The odds might have changed, but the Big 12 was always the favorite now to poach from the Pac-12 because of all the information we received on the low ball offers and that certain presidents didn't want to go all digital. And we knew about Colorado's interest. And then it came May and we told you about the pop-up of action, April 28th and May 17th. We knew there was a meeting on May 7th in Chicago. We knew all that, but we only could tell you about the hot bubble of action. All through this, we said in the Holy Smokes Theater that Colorado was at the center of the stage. What happened was, and you were here when it happened, it was like May, June, and early July. It was constant. We got reports, not from us, but from other websites and Twitter accounts saying it's a done deal. Colorado, the Big 12. Colorado, the Big 12. Colorado, Arizona. All this stuff. And I spent a lot of time on my show putting up a stop sign. In fact, I started making jokes about it. I said, nope, 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 nope. At the same time, I'm trying to convey the Peek Around the Corner that Colorado was the tip of the spear, that they were the center of the stage alone. There was a difference between Colorado and Arizona, right? And all that came out to be Colorado on July 27th. But there was a whole bunch of time there where there was all these reports, announcements saying it's a done deal, it's going to blah, 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 blah. And I kept having to say, no, 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 no. And we knew it because we knew we knew the Big 12 had not received Colorado's application. There was ways that we knew that it wasn't a done deal. We knew that Colorado was very interested. We knew that on May 24th and May 31st, there was, June, a couple of dates in June, there was big donor meetings, one in California, one in Colorado. But it was never Colorado, it's a done deal. It wasn't, not until July 27th. I say that because it's happening again. It's happening again. I am not here to rip on anybody, okay? Except for those who have gone at, I'm not here to rip on MacGyver, whatever his name is on Twitter, or this other whatever this other Twitter account was, or Nevada Buck from Ohio State, or any of these people. We don't do it at Peek Around the Corner. Number one, we're not infallible. We could be wrong. We don't think we are. But we could be wrong. And when we are wrong, Even on the smallest details, you've seen it, we take the L at the start of the show. So we're not here to do that. We're here to clear the air on something. We have to make something really, really clear on this rumor. Also, the only people we've ever gone after are the people that have gone after our credibility, the guy who makes the charts, his sidekick, because they went after our credibility. They ended up being completely and totally wrong while we racked up the W's. They never admitted it, and we buried them. I'm not going to go after these people here because I don't believe they've ever gone after me. I don't go after other people. And again, the big reason is we could be missing something here at Peek Around the Corner. We are not infallible. But I do have to make it, eventually what happens is Flug Empire, Great Flugar, Fat Guy from Minnesota, Peek Around the Corner. Eventually what happens is I get mixed up in all this other reporting, and then it says Great Flugar, So we're going to make something perfectly clear when it comes to this particular rumor. Okay? I hope everybody understands that. And again, not going after everybody, not going after these gentlemen. Okay, first of all, I guess we got breaking news that Daniels won the Heisman. Congratulations to Jaden Daniels of LSU. I would have voted for him. I know probably most people in the chat disagree with me. I think Michael Penix Jr. was outstanding. I think Bo Nix was outstanding. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. might be the best football player coming out if he goes into the in the draft. I do think Daniels deserved to win it. He was absolutely spectacular. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. You can talk about it with your comments, super chats, phone calls later in the show. McIver 3. Okay, this tweet here. In ACC news, I'm being told that there will be a significant meeting January 31st at Florida State. Number one is that meeting has been set up long time ago. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't be a significant meeting. But that date, that meeting has been set up a long time ago. It's been on their calendar for a very long time. It's not just set up there because of what's going on now. Let's make that perfectly clear. If you go further into the tweet, SEC has shown no interest in adding them. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we would disagree. It isn't like Florida State doesn't have interest from the SEC. It isn't like Clemson doesn't have interest from the... I think that's going just a little bit overboard there. Okay, I wanted to clear that up. It isn't like the SEC has no interest. It isn't like years from now that they have absolutely zero interest and they're leaving the floor open to the Big Ten when it comes to SEC and Clemson. I mean, to Florida State and Clemson. Blue Bloods bias, I guess this is called, may leave the SEC for the Big Ten within the next month. Okay, within the next month. McIver saying there'll be a significant meeting for January 31st that could decide their future conference affiliation. Okay, so And then there was Nevada Buck, I think his name is, Ohio State guy. I had 11 or 12 or 13 people send me some YouTube that I listened to a little bit of. He's talking about conference networks already getting involved. And number one, this realignment, this realignment is going to be different than the other realignments that we've seen. The ACC implosion, in our strongly held opinion, and what we've been told is going to happen. Don't know exactly when. But it's going to be different. It isn't going to be like the politicians are going to get involved. You have the ACC grant of rights that goes to 2036. I almost kind of feel responsible for this because maybe we haven't made ourselves clear. On December 26, 2022, we reported to you, and then the following months, but on December 26, 2022, reported to you from the Florida State Money Perch that in a couple months, Florida State was going to say something in public. They were going to push the envelope on the ACC. Something needed to change. And then, and 2 months later, I think it was February 24th, Mike Alford said something in public. Ever since then, it's always been told to us by more than one person many, many times, and we reported to you that it's always been about the first quarter of 2024. But it's been about the first quarter of 2024 in Florida State, and it looks like Clemson now, putting their flag in the ground and saying, we are letting you know, ACC, of our intentions to leave the conference. It might not even be a formal withdrawal notice. There's going to be something we believe, and again, we don't know exactly sure. If we did, we'd tell you. And I apologize that we don't know. That's not how things work. But there's going to be some major event in regards to this story happened in the first quarter of 2024. And we said that all the way back into 2022. But now for the rumor for FSU to the Big Ten in January, I don't even know how that is even possible. Don't know how that is possible. If it happens, we're going to cover this incredible major story. I will take the L and we'll dive into it. We'll talk about it. But that is not what we are reporting. And I already see one particular website already mixing what we're reporting up with other people. We're not reporting that. We're not reporting Florida State to the Big Ten in January. And I know a lot of you know that, but we needed to clear the air. Oregon and Washington, right? We were the ones who said, even when everything looked like it was all done, we were the ones that said, these are the things that needed to happen for Oregon and Washington to go to the Big Ten within the next 5 months. And if it doesn't happen, it's going to happen 5 years from now. We were the ones that were saying it. Washington and Oregon, because Fox was interested in Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten. First of all, Kevin Warren had to leave. He left. And second, the Big 12 was going to have to crack open the Pac-12 more than once, and they did. And at the very end, Oregon and Washington came in at a discount. We said all those things before it happened. We said this is what would need to happen for Oregon and Washington to become Big Ten members in the next 5 months. And it happened. But the reason it wasn't a for sure lock that it was going to happen, it was because of the Big Ten legal counsel. And we reported that to you. They were so, I don't know what you want to call it, careful, conservative. They did not want to be seen as the only reason why the Pac-12 completely imploded. The Big Ten is not going to make an official deal with Florida State or anybody else until they know that Florida State can clear the grant of rights hurdle. And I don't know how that could be possibly done in January of 2024. That is not what we are reporting. That is what others are now bringing up, and it was carried by the Tallahassee Democrat. We need to clear the air on that. If, and we believe this is going to happen, if Florida State and Clemson, but particularly Florida State, declare in the first quarter of 2024 that they have started their run out of the ACC, declaring their intentions, speaking to the ACC, trying to now reach a negotiation. That in itself is a gigantic, huge step and a massive story because it carries risks and it could go in so many different ways. And we don't know exactly how Florida State's going to do it. And we've been saying this since December 26, 2022. So all these events that happened in the last month, and particularly in the last 2 weeks, hasn't really changed the story of how we've been reporting it. Again, has there been talks? Does Florida State know their general valuation? Does Clemson know it? Their general valuation when it comes to ESPN, when it comes to Fox? Yes, they know their general valuation. But Florida State, as far as we know, and again, we're not, in fact, we could be wrong. And if we're wrong, we're going to take the big L. But there hasn't been this Florida State in Big Ten meetings like there was with the Big Ten and what Brett McMurphy first broke on Action Network when he said Oregon and Washington met with the Big Ten, and I believe it was Washington and New York City. I might have one of those cities wrong, and if I do, I apologize. There hasn't been those types of official meetings that we know of. FSU to the Big Ten in January, FSU deciding what conference they're going to go to in a board of trustees meeting on January 31st. We don't think that's even possible. We don't even think that is possible. Unless there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that we don't know about. And that could be because, look, they were having the Magnificent Seven sub-meetings, Magnificent Seven meetings among those 7 schools. We didn't know about it. Nobody else did. We didn't know about it. So could Jim Phillips be in the back room with Florida State and Clemson making a deal? I doubt it. I really, really doubt it. And again, I'm not going after MacGyver, Nevada Buck, or Florida State insiders or anything of that nature. I'm just making it very, very clear what we seriously believe is a major event's going to happen, but it ain't going to be that. This road has just begun. This is going to be a long road ahead. And it's going to be different than the Colorado story, and the Oregon and Washington story, and the USC story. For many different reasons. In particular, the grant of rights going out to 2036. I wanted to do this live show to make that perfectly clear. Because I already see PATC being hodgepodge with these other people who are reporting this information. Again, I'm not going after them. But I just find it, we don't have any information, none, that would lead us to believe that on January 31st, Florida State's going to announce their conference. They're going to go to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is... Now, I know some people are saying, geez, how can you say that, Greg? The Big Ten's careful. Look what they just did to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 had a grant of rights that is going to end on, officially, technically, on August 1st, 2024. I mean, it's a completely different creature that we're dealing with here with the ACC implosion. It's going to be way more intricate. It's going to be way more complicated. There's going to be way more politicians involved. It's going to be unbelievable. And we still think it's going to happen. Even with the grant of rights out to 2036, the ACC implosion is going to happen way before then because of all this, the delta, the gap, the difference in money and the world that's changing with revenue sharing, going to the student athletes, everything we've talked about. We still think it's going to happen. But this is way too complicated, way too many hurdles to overcome for anything like that to happen, FSU to the Big Ten in January of 2024. And again, if it happens, I'll be the first one out here to take the big L. I want to get you comments, get you phone calls. I don't believe this is going to be a long live show. But if there's breaking news, can talk about college football, anything college football that you want to talk about. I'm still looking for the Kyle McCord to possibly Nebraska. I'm still looking for Riley Leonard. Is he going to Notre Dame? Where is he going? Where's Cameron Ward going? Where is he going? He's got like 5 schools listed as interest. McCall, where's Grayson McCall going? Is he going to North Carolina State? North Carolina State just picked up a starting Notre Dame starting center. That's a big deal for the Wolfpack. Are they going to get Grayson McCall? I thought I heard a report that he went to visit there. Anyways, you let us know in the chat. Okay, let me get to the chat. Let me get to Super Chat here. Ryan Martin. McIver has a history of being half right, half wrong. I'll share more when you open the phone lines. Again, I'm not going after this gentleman. You know what? I'm just not going to do it. Unless he's gone after me, and I don't know if he has, but it's already a big leap. A massive leap to talk about the first quarter 2024 of Florida State and Clemson signaling that they are going to leave. They want to leave. They're ready to leave the ACC. That's a massive story, ladies and gentlemen. That itself is unbelievable, and we think it's going to happen. The idea that Florida State to the Big Ten is going to get announced on January 31st, I don't know how that happens. I don't even know how that could even happen. And it's not just this gentleman, McIver, who's saying it, by the way. He was in the article. That's why I brought it up. So I'm not ripping on him. I don't want this to be a rip on other people. And again, we have peek around the quarter. Could be completely wrong. I don't think we are because, man, I don't think we are. But we shall see. Thank you, Ryan Martin, for the super chat, for your generosity. I appreciate it so very, very much. CT Dub, Florida State and Clemson would be capable of winning the Big Ten in their first season. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. LFG, SEC would snake UNC tomorrow if possible. And on the other hand, I don't know how North Carolina going to the SEC could possibly happen in January of 2024. LFG in the past, Nevada Buck proved to be an accurate, credible source. Nevada knows a lot of people. Curtis, Florida State to the Big Ten will not be blocked. Just not happening. The Big Ten wants them, as Greg says, much must need to be worked out. Michigan versus the world. Michigan can leave on its own free will. SEC would peg them. Florida State not on that level. Holy smokes. Michigan is not going anywhere. Okay. Let me open up the chat here. Let me open up the chat real quick. I mean, the phone lines. Excuse me. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. You can give us a call, talk about anything in college football that you would like. Justin Lucas. Greg, I think you're wrong. I'll get back to you in a second, Justin.
Call from
Ryan Martin.
Ryan Martin, can you hold just for a moment here?
Sure.
Thank you. Justin Lucas, Greg, I think you are wrong. The ACC will implode like the Big 12 imploded. Big brands leave and the rest band together as island of misfit toys. It used to be that I got raked over the coals when I talked about this in December 2022, early in 2023. Now I'm not being forward thinking enough, being aggressive thinking enough. You could be right, Justin. I don't think so. It's going to take a lot more for the ACC to implode than the Big 12 or what just happened to the Pac-12. Thank you, Justin, for your comment. Ryan, you have the floor, sir. What do you got to say?
So, with Imhaver, Imhiver, I don't know. Nobody knows how to say his name.
Got it.
He's been prevalent in realignment for a long time. He was all over everything last year. And ever since OU and Texas announced they were leaving for the SEC, he was on top of stuff. So he's been around for a couple of years. And accordingly to other people who I've talked to and followed along with during this time, he's been around a lot longer than that too, talking about stuff related to West Virginia. He's a West Virginia guy. There's enough that he gets that's there that he knows somebody within West Virginia administration, that he gets information. Not unlike you do, where you know people, you talk to people, but he takes and speculates. This is not the first time where he's seen a meeting like a scheduled board of trustees meeting and gone, oh, well, they're going to talk about this then, or they're going to make this announcement there. The big thing that he's been pushing, though, the last week or so, which is in a similar vein of the things that he's been more right on than he's been more wrong on, is that the ACC and the Big 12 have been having discussions about a possible some kind of merger to create an entity that could compare with the Big 10 or the SEC. Don't really know how that would work, especially when it would create a more bottom-heavy entity. Because he's even saying there's like talks of talking to the Pac-2 and bringing them into all of this, redistributing everybody regionally and creating some sort of entity for football. But that the Big 12 and the ACC exist outside of the conglomerate individually as well for other sports, it's weird. That all to say that the biggest thing, the last time he kind of disappeared, it was back in May. He actually had Colorado admin come out and refute a tweet that he had put out there saying that Colorado was going to ratify. It was, again, kind of in the same vein of the tweet that got shared in that article where he latched on to a meeting date and saying the Colorado Board of Regents was going to ratify the move as early as this date. And then their AD comes out and says, yeah, not happening. Not even remotely close to being true. I forget exactly what the words were. But
yeah, I remember that as well. Yep. Go ahead.
So realistically, that's just kind of the grain of salt that people need to take when you read him. I don't know about this Nevada Buck guy. I've never heard of him before, but I may have to check him out. People are saying that he's connected as well. But Imhaver's pretty infamous amongst Big 12 people, just because like he and guys like Greg Swaim, they just tend to throw what they know out there. Some's right, some's wrong. So
okay, I don't, I appreciate it. I don't want to take shots at the guy. I don't know him, and I don't think he's ever taken a shot at me. So.
It's not. It's not about taking shots at anybody. It's just providing context.
I do remember Rich George saying something like, "Yeah, it's." Again, I go back to the Colorado story. Everybody was not everybody, not peek around the corner, but there was so many like declarations and reports that it's done deal, it's happening, whatever. And this show got inundated. I got inundated with, is it done, Greg? Is it done? And I kind of want to say, do you watch my shows? Because I'm saying it's not done. I'm saying we believe it's going to happen, but until the Big 12 gets the application, we kind of, I don't know, maybe we're more, we definitely are more careful with what we're trying to report here, but and that's, I think the same thing is going on with the Florida State thing. I think people are going way over the tip of their skis on this.
Oh yeah.
But again, we could be wrong. Here at Peek Around the Corner, if we are, we will take the L on it. We think there's going to be something big going on in the first quarter of 2024, but not this official Florida State Big Ten marriage. We don't even know how it's possible.
Realistically, the only way I could see it is if Florida State is just so pissed off that they announce that it's not official yet. They just announced that we are currently working with the Big Ten.
I don't think the Big Ten
negotiate.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I don't even think the Big Ten would not want that announcement. The Big Ten is not. Again, and it's just not me that has reported it. You can take me out of the equation. There's been others. The Big Ten is going to make sure that there's a pathway for Florida State to get out of the ground rights before they even get into the next phase of all this stuff.
Yeah.
We're not even there. We're not close to there yet. So, but again, if I'm wrong, we'll take the L. But I wanted to make sure we came on live so we are clear what we're saying here at Peek Around the Corner.
Yeah. No. And that's all I really had. So
got it.
I will step off here and let somebody else pop on. I will say though that I saw today one of the Oklahoma State guys, one of the few Oklahoma State guys compared to last year's massive portal exodus. One of only 5 who have entered the portal so far he got an offer from Minnesota.
Well,
wide receiver Blaine Green.
That's Blaine Green, right?
Yeah.
Well, his brother, God, I can't remember his name. Holy smokes!
Bryson.
No, not even Bryson. Their older brother. Somebody help me out here. Some Gopher person. Anyways, their older brother played tight end for the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He actually came as a quarterback, moved him to tight end. He's bigger than Blaine Green and Bryson Green. They all grew up. They grew up in Eastview, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. Their older brother went to Houston for his last year.
Okay.
And so Blaine Green and Bryce Green, I would see them in the stands at Huntington Bank Stadium watching their older brother play. I saw it was, well, anyway, I don't need to get into that. But anyways, so Blaine Green, he played a little bit for Oklahoma State, caught some passes. I don't know if he's interested in coming to Minnesota, who doesn't throw the ball around a lot. But
for a while we had three pairs of brothers. We had the Chevron brothers, the Green brothers, and then the Presley brothers, and then that all kind of broke up. I think we still have both Chevrons.
Yeah.
But I know we lost Bryson to the portal last summer, and we lost Brendan Presley's little brother to the portal as well. But that's one of those things where the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. I think really the only person who went into the portal who had any sort of real success wherever they ended up was Jabbar Muhammad at Washington for us. So, and then of course we went 9-3 when everybody expected us to have a losing season. So, or I guess 9-4 now, but
yeah.
And Doak Walker Award winner Ollie Gordon. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be a wild season next year if he comes back.
Yeah.
So.
All right, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it. Great call.
All right. Bye.
Call from
Patrick, I believe it's Patrick. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I was curious, in your opinion, what is stopping the Big Ten from going after the big teams in the SEC in the southeastern push? Like, what's stopping them from going after the Oklahomas, Texas, LSU, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Florida State, Clemson, all in one swoop and saying, we're going 32 teams, super conference type of situation?
Because the SEC schools would have no interest in that. They would have no interest in that. The SEC schools are very, very happy where they are. They love that one region conference. They're the one region in the country that can pull that off for travel, for all their Olympic sports. They're powerful enough to where they don't need to go cross country to be a national conference. They have the money. They have the exposure. They fill up their stadiums. They have enough rivalry games. They just don't have the interest. I'm one of the people that keep saying, even though Texas A&M was so incredibly upset that Texas joined the SEC, I don't believe Texas A&M has any interest in joining the Big Ten. The only SEC school that I could possibly see 10, 12 years down the line that might take the phone and call the Big Ten Conference is Vanderbilt, and I don't even think that's going to happen. Remember, in realignment, Patrick, it always starts with the school calling the conference first, not the conference calling the schools. The SEC schools are not calling the Big Ten Conference in Rosemont, Chicago to say, can we join you? Just not happening.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it. Appreciate it.
Call from
Yeah.
Oh, We lost you. We lost somebody. And I don't think Missouri would either. And I don't think the Big Ten has interest in Missouri.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, how you doing, sir? The floor
I'm doing good.
is yours.
I'm doing good, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good.
I'm pretty sure breaking news will happen as I talk, but
Well, we'll try. We'll try to make it happen. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, between Mo and Immaculate and I, we always get the breaking news. So, as I kind of pointed out to you on Twitter, Greg, and I pointed out in other calls, the whole ACC situation is pretty volatile, and I think it depends really on what happens first with FSU. If FSU does indeed raise the capital, get the money they need, and bail, and go to and land in the Big Ten. The Big Ten will have to make a choice. They can either stand pat there and wait, or they can get aggressive and the presidents would have to swallow their pride but take Clemson. If that happens, that kind of goes to the next hinge on the door, and that's whether or not the SEC feels it needs to respond, and perhaps going after all four of Virginia Tech, UNC, and NC State would help them monopolize the region, have some good built-in rivalries there, and basically, keep the Big Ten out of that region and kind of expand their footprint at the same time and get into some new markets that would kind of be there for them. And, after that's happened, I think after those 6 leave, that will be such an impact to the value of the ACC network and the ESPN contract. I don't think they'll be able to backfill quick enough to maintain the composition clause, and I don't think ESPN will want them to, because ESPN will probably want to renegotiate that. And then you could look at a whole other element where, you would have Louisville and Pitt perhaps looking for a different home. There's a whole bunch of things that happen, but there are different hinges on the door along the way. And I mean, it's like a maze, Greg, there's different forks in the road along the way that can develop in different ways. And I think really it's going to depend on, I think FSU will find a way somehow to get to the Big Ten. Now the Big Ten has to decide, if Clemson's willing to find its way, and pay for that, the Big Ten has to decide whether or not they want Clemson. Mm-hmm. If they don't want Clemson, the SEC has no reason to grab Clemson at that point. But if they do take Clemson, then the SEC will feel threatened in the southern region, because they would think there's a possibility the Big Ten could go to 24 by grabbing those Carolina and Virginia schools, and the SEC might respond. So I think that's really where this all comes down to. And, I think it really hinges on, do the Big Ten presidents, accept Clemson? Are they willing to accept Clemson, which is kind of on par with Oregon in research, or do they not? And whether that happens, I think Clemson and Florida State are the only two with the means to get them and the money right now to literally get themselves out of the ACC. And, if the Big Ten takes both, and I think the SEC will respond by going for that Carolina sweep, so to say, or the the Atlantic sweep there, the Tobacco Road sweep. I think that's really what's going to happen. I think the FSU could leave, and the ACC will go right on being, a conference, and similar situation with the Big 12, right? Losing a couple top brands, they can survive and, continue going on. But I think it's all going to really depend on what happens with Clemson, because I don't think the SEC has any reason to take them if the Big Ten just stops at FSU. Mm-hmm. But those are my thoughts. Be happy to get your understanding. And with all this that I say, Greg, anything can, there are lots of swivels along the way, and there are lots of hinges on the doors, and there's different options, and there's any way this can materialize. But this is just sort of my thoughts of how this could develop. Now that I said that, I mean, I will be completely wrong, because when it comes to realignment predictions, I'm kind of like Greg the Cooler of the realignment predictions. But I'll let you get your thoughts, and thanks for your hard work on the show, and great job.
You got it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yeah, look, North Carolina in itself, right? In itself, they are going to be filling their new, they're going to be inserting a new chancellor here, right? And we talked about in the last live couple shows. That story in itself, I'll get to in a second.
Call from
Hasbro.
Can you hold on just 1 second?
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. North Carolina in itself is just a giant, I don't know what you want to call it, a big boulder in the road on this story, right? They're going to have to fulfill the new chancellor. We talked about it. Mike Gusowich left. Whoever gets into that chair could be, probably, most likely will be a very strong indication on where the power lies in deciding where North Carolina goes in the future. Staying in the ACC, going to the SEC, going into the Big Ten. North Carolina is not aligned. They're all fractured up. And that is a gigantic story. Gigantic story. Brian Murphy put out a tweet on December 8th yesterday talking about it. We put it out on December 6th. Whoever wins that battle, internal battle at North Carolina. So that's a big piece. And so the SEC, the Big Ten, I don't know, maybe I'm not saying it in the way that I should be saying it. I could be saying it a whole lot better. But there is so many layers to this. And for the Big Ten to come out and say, with an agreement with Florida State, that Florida State's going to be joining the Big Ten in January of 2024, we believe that's just an impossibility. Can't happen unless we're missing a whole entire story. We shall see. Okay, caller, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Doing good.
I have a question. Maybe you can help me figure this out. I can't quite get it straight in my head. With the new proposal that the NCAA put out about the autonomies breaking off and making their own rules and pay for pay and everything that's going on, and anybody out there can opt in, I can fully see the SEC teams and the Big Ten teams, and at least most of them, I don't know about the Vanderbilts and whatnot, but ponying up and getting in. But you're also going to have half of the ACC and half of the Big 12, and God knows who else, the SMU's out there that's got a lot of sponsorships are going to pony up also.
Yep.
Is that not just going to throw realignment clear into the work? I mean, how are they going to? How are you going to do this with the conferences when you got to play these teams, but half your conference is in and half your conference is out?
Great comment. And you're right. I agree. I think everybody in the Big Ten, SEC, I think Vanderbilt, they've invested too much. They're about to invest a whole lot of money, right? So everyone's going to create this trust fund some way, somehow, to be able to get over the line of being able to be in this so-called new subdivision where they pay $30,000 per athlete per year, at least half your athletes that are under scholarships. However that works out, I think everybody is going to opt in from the autonomy conferences. Although there may be a couple like Boston College that might have to drop some sports because they have a whole bunch of scholarship student athletes. And then there's going to be some G5 schools. Liberty's going to opt in. There's going to be G5 schools as well. Is that going to cause realignment? That's your question, right?
Correct. Yeah. How's that going to work?
You know what? It already has. And it will continue in the future. And what I mean by it already has is the revenue sharing, where student athletes get more and more compensation. Sir, that's the reason why Texas and Oklahoma called Greg Sankey in 2019. That was the straw that stirred the drink. It's what's happening right now. Texas and Oklahoma saw a future, so did everybody else, in secret, in silent, saw that the student athletes were going to get higher and higher in compensation and directly from the school and or conference, and it was paramount for Texas and Oklahoma, for them to compete at the highest level of college football, college athletics. They wanted to get into the SEC, so they called Sankey. They didn't call the SEC because it was going to be easier to win an SEC conference football championship versus the Big 12. They're going in there because they knew the future, what was going to happen, and it's happening right now. Same thing with USC calling the Big 10. So to answer your question, it's already caused realignment, and it's going to continue to cause realignment. The G5 conferences, there are going to be some Frankenstein conferences being built. There's going to be, if this happens, if that proposal happens, or anywhere close to that type of proposal happens, there's going to be G5 schools that are going to step up. They're going to do it. They're going to prosper. And some are not going to be able to opt in. Like in Eastern Michigan, there are some G5 athletic departments that are incredibly poor. And that's going to cause consolidation and realignment in the G5. And it could happen in the Power 5 as well. So to answer your question with my long-winded answer, the answer is yes. It's already caused it, and it's going to cause it in the future.
So in your opinion, if I'm hearing you correctly, you believe that all of the Big 12 and all the ACCs, or at least 90% of them, will opt in, and that won't cause them to break up?
I think they will. I think they will opt in, and here's the reason why. I think, first of all these schools are still investing so much money, right, in their facilities, in their athletic villages, and just, they've invested too much not to opt in. Second of all, the reason why I think they're all going to opt in is because on that proposal is going to be negotiated, right? That's a Charlie Baker first proposal. I do not think that Charlie Baker is going to get really anything passed in the NCAA without the yes votes of most or all of the autonomy schools. So they're going to put it at a level where most of them, if not all of them, can jump over that bar and opt in. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I hope you're right.
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it's going.
Yeah, I was just racking my brain on that one. I'm like, well, what's it going to do to the semi-large conferences? The big conferences, I'm sure, are great, and the little conferences are probably hurting, and all of us, like the West Virginias, are all stuck in the middle,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, here's the thing. You got to remember this now, and this is why Brett Yormark did what he did. This was the brilliance of Brett Yormark. The Big 12, they have a vote in the room, man. They are an autonomy conference. There are 16 teams. They're aligned. They are aligned. They have a commonality. So they have a voice. So, boy, it's going to be hard for Charlie Baker. Wherever they put that bar, it's going to be hard to put it at a bar where most, if not all, the Big 12 schools can jump over. That is my opinion. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens.
Well, I appreciate your time. One more quick question, if you got a moment. What's your feeling on the whole Big 12 ACC merger? As the hot rumors are going around right now, they're scheduling mergers and whatnot. They're trying to pull it together so they don't get washed out.
I'm not buying it for a second. I'm sorry, I'm not. Maybe some scheduling stuff. Other than that, no way. No way is Brett Yormark.
I didn't see it happening either. I listen to all the podcasts, and I'm like, I don't see that happening.
Brett Yormark did not do what he just did. Pulled the rabbit out of the hat, hit a grand slam. I might get the date wrong, but October 30th, 2022, when he struck that deal, that early deal with ESPN and Fox, when he got out ahead of the Pac-12, and then he went after the poaching of Colorado. He knew that was the spear. He knew that then Arizona would follow if he could get Colorado. He put so much time, effort, resources into this. He got a deal done. He moved up the exclusive window, negotiated window with ESPN and Fox. He moved it in front of the Pac-12. He didn't do all of that. He did not do all of that and put himself at an advantage, a slight advantage over the ACC if they implode. He didn't do all that to get into some merger with the ACC.
I would hope he learned that from the whole. I would hope he learned from the whole Big Ten, Big Pac-12, ACC fiasco from last year. All right, brother. I appreciate it. I've had enough of your time. You're a great host. I appreciate it.
Good. You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Call again, sir.
Bye. Yes, sir.
I'm not buying any of it. Again, for wrong, I'll take the L. But Brett Yormark is not going. Look, you saw what he did when he was at a position.
Call from
JD.
JD, can you hold on for a second, sir?
Absolutely.
I apologize. I just got to get this out. You saw what Brett Yormark did when he was in a position of weakness. And yes, he was. He was in a position of weakness. It was David versus Goliath. And I'm sorry, but the Big 12 was not Goliath. You saw what he did. He did the only move he could do, and that was to get in front of the Pac-12. Once the Pac-12 made a mistake of not taking in or not negotiating with good faith on the first offer in their exclusive window with Fox and ESPN, Brett Yormark went in front of the Pac-12, and he served the Big 12 schools. He was only interested in the interests of the Big 12 schools. And he kept them in the game. He kept them in the room. He kept the Big 12 as autonomy conference. The Pac did not poke from the Big 12. The Big 12 poked from the Pac-12. The Big 12 poked from the Pac-12. The guy that goes to Wharton College, the chart guy, I forget his name. Do you hear what I just said? The Big 12 poached from the Pac-12. So when would Brett Yormark do? Now he's at a position of strength. He's got an advantage. He's got a deal lined up for 6 years. The Big 12 has, they get to redo their Tier 1, Tier 2 deal 6 years before the ACC does. And the Big 12 is going to say, whoa, well, we're just going to do a merger with ACC. I'm not buying it for a second. And again, if I'm wrong, I'll be taking an L here at Peek Around the Corner. JD, Mr. Seminole, the floor is yours, sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. We were going to do just a short little show here to clear up the air, but now it looks like we're a little bit on a roll, so we're just going to continue on. How you doing, sir? Florida State?
I'm doing fine.
Portal, everything's doing good?
Yeah, yes, sir. There's really good possibilities. Our NIL collective was already strong. Wow, it's grown like threefold in the last week. I think we'll have very soon. We'll have over 5,000 members just on the NIL collective. There'll be 10,000 hopefully by the end of the spring, and that's not your booster club. That's just your NIL collective.
Yeah.
So they got heavy money boosters that you don't know what they're offering, but I mean you can join for as little as $20. So anybody in your audience that's sympathetic to Florida State that wants to join the battle's end, please do. They've got some really nice gifts they'll send you. They're really, really sweet. But anyway, this is multifaceted, and I understand why you're coming on to clear the air because of all the Twitter sites like McCaver or McKay, whatever it is. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've had a little friendly debate with him at times on Twitter when he was one of the last ones to get past the 2036 thing. And sometime before the season, I just told him, I said, it seems like you have really good Big 12 sources, you have pretty good Pac-12 sources, as best you can say. I said, whoever your ACC source is, I said, they're not clued in. They might be clued in with Charlotte, with the ACC headquarters. They're not clued in with FSU because you're behind. And I don't know. He didn't make a real snarky comment, but it was something like, well, whatever. But and then now he's completely flipped. Of course, he's gone MIA for most of the season, in any way. So I'm just appreciative that now he seems to just about be falling in line. Now, I'm not saying his information is correct. I don't know. But it's good to see that it's kind of getting through even to his ACC sources that, no, this is really going to happen. So that's nice. But your reputation is very valuable to you. You don't want to just throw rumors out there, and I appreciate that. You want something that you can verify. The average fan is not as knowledgeable as your audience. Okay,
I know that yes, I know that. Yeah.
So the Tallahassee Democrat. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead, sir.
No. Whenever somebody refers to the Moore Center, okay, that's the football. That's the sports complex. Okay, so that'll be common as this gets a little heavier, and you hear FSU media, and you may tune into their podcast or something, and they say the Moore Center. That's what they mean. Okay, so I'm sure the Tallahassee Democrat and some of these other podcast sites not affiliated with the big brand FSU media sites like 247 or War Chant or something or anybody like that. They've been referring to things they're hearing out of the Moore Center, and I'm sure the Tallahassee Democrat has reached out to them. Okay, they probably didn't get anything they could print, but they didn't get any denials either. So the Tallahassee Democrat is not as knowledgeable, saying, well, it's a multifaceted process. FSU is going to have to announce, and then there'll be negotiations. They're more or less just going to say FSU is leaving for the Big Ten. And the assumption is because the SEC yesterday, whether it was preemptive, whether the SEC knew something was about to come, or ESPN knew something was about to come, whatever the reasoning was, they just flat out said FSU is not at the top of their list. So if we know FSU is about to leave, 2-2 equals Big Ten. Either that or you're going independent, and who's going to go independent in this climate? So I think being that they're not as knowledgeable, they're just making some assumptions because everybody else is making those assumptions. And the rumors, and it's not being refuted probably from those in the Moore Center. You made some really great points a few days ago talking about how quiet it is at FSU. Oh, they're still furious. And we're all going to be furious for years. Mm-hmm. And do I believe they've mobilized? Do I believe that things are going to progress even quicker? You're correct that when the first announcement comes that they plan on leaving the ACC, you're not going to just say we're going to join the Big Ten. It doesn't work that way because there's a lot of legalities. Yeah, our Big Ten. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That is what we believe. Again, if it doesn't, we'll be the first ones to take the out. But yes, that's what we believe because this is different than what. That is what we believe. Yes, go ahead.
Our Big Ten insider that has said that this was likely to happen, and then within a week or so said it's a done deal, but it's just there's legalities that they can't make it public. He has came out and said that over Thanksgiving, everything he's been saying has been validated. Like it's It's happening. It's going to happen. And it's just, there's a lot that has to happen. So it's probably much farther along than we know, but are there things still to work through? I mean, is anything written on a piece of paper? No. I mean, there's no contract that's been formalized. No, sir. And I would doubt that there is. If it is, it's in a safe somewhere. But is there an understanding? Oh, I thoroughly believe there's an understanding, or this wouldn't be happening. You know, this wouldn't be happening.
I believe there's an understanding when it comes to general, like, valuation and things like that. So Florida State and Clemson, they know the risks, right? You got to have some sort of cost benefit analysis. Clemson did not hire that guy. I apologize, JD, for jumping in.
No, you're good. You're good.
Clemson did not hire that firm, right?
Yes, sir.
7-8 months ago, for them to sit on their hands. They've been doing a lot of work. There's been a lot of work done. So thank you for bringing that up, JD. But there isn't any official application sent to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten presidents haven't voted. There's nothing of that going on. In our strongly held opinion here at Peek Around the Corner. So the Big Ten, they are very wary of, they're very sensitive to the legalities of all this stuff, and they're not going to just come out and be okay with Florida State saying we're going to the Big Ten in January. We don't see how that's possible.
Absolutely not.
And this is another point. I don't want, how do I say this? What's a good example of this? And this is what we believe is going to happen, and if it happens, if it's breaking news on January, February, March, that Florida State is making some sort of announcement of their future that's outside of the ACC, JD, that's a massive story on a massive scale. And now with all this rumor stuff about announcing exactly where they're going and what, people are probably going to look at this massive event that we think is going to happen. If it happens, they're going to look at it like, oh, that's no big deal. But really, it is a huge story if it happens. That Florida State says, with 12 years left on the grant of rights, that they're going to say, yeah, we're leaving. We're leaving. This is our intentions. We're ready. ACC, negotiate.
I will say this, and I firmly believe this from other sources that I've heard things from, and also our insider on the War Chant side, but then he's just one of the members. But the FSU people have made several trips to Chicago, and the ACC knows all about that. The people think that they better not find out because the ACC is going to sue. The ACC is a weak conference, and their administration is weak. Okay. There's no secrets here. They know exactly what's going on. They know exactly what they want to do. They know that they've probably been up front and just said, hey, Jim, we're going to leave. I know negotiations are going to start. They've probably got a framework. I think the framework I heard somewhere where the ACC would want to start somewhere in the 200s. And I know 2 to 300s, and I know that that's not going to fly. Yeah, there's no cloak and dagger. We're sneaking up to Chicago on a.
Well, there's always cloak and dagger, JD.
I mean, no. People are not hiding this. As far as that's not going in the papers. But what I'm saying is that the officials have met with each other. Okay, I mean they have. And so it's not something where when this gets announced, okay, we're at square one. No, when this gets announced, we're probably 90% finished. We just got to come up with the number. And I'm just throwing a number. It may not be 90%, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yep,
They're so much farther along than what we realize, because we think, oh, wow, the ACC is going to sue. And no, they're not, because they've known this was coming. I'm sure, our president and AD have talked to Jim Phillips. They've been in the rooms. They've had these conversations, and they know what's coming. One of the things that Regal had suggested that part of the reason FSU hadn't already announced is because, they need finalization of the new playoff format. There might be, and this was my speculation, and I could be off. It might be that finalize the setup on the new format and then announce, or then announce you're leaving to the conference. Maybe you're just trying to secure the ACC as a Power 4 rather than being relegated to a G5. I don't know. I'm just throwing out.
I tell you what. If we get an article from Yahoo Sports or Action Network or SI or Dennis Dodd, or we get an article here in the next 30 days, next 45 days, saying that that Greg Sankey and Brett Yarmark and Jim Phillips and Tony Petitti are thinking about, and it's percolating, that the 2026 playoffs is going to be structured differently, and it's going to be a 16-team playoff, where they're already thinking about expanding even before the 2024 starts, 2025 playoffs, to see how all that works. If we start getting some steam and smoke about the possibility of the 2026 playoffs already expanding to 16 teams, then here in the next 30 to 45 days, I think we're eventually going to get there, but the next 30 to 45 days, then I'll start to think, wow, wait, hold on here. Because that would be an indication to me that the possibilities of the ACC imploding, where you get this incredible story that Florida State's going to the Big Ten or Clemson's going to the SEC of the Big Ten. We get that announcement in the next 3 months in the first quarter of 2024. Then maybe I'll start going, holy smokes, maybe this is a lot further along than what we believe, because that would be greasing the skids for all this. That'd be a big indication. Well, but again, I don't think we're that far along, though, on this story. But go ahead.
No, you're not that far along publicly. In other words, I think what's going to happen is, you're exactly right. FSU and Clemson are going to announce their intentions on leaving the ACC, and then it's just going to be left hanging there a little bit on where are they going or whatever. But I think behind the scenes is my thing. Everything's so much farther along than we realize. It's just, yes, for legalities, you can't just say, all right, we're leaving and we're going to the Big Ten. I just don't think it's going to work out.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yes, so I don't think you're wrong. I think it's just, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of smoke that suggests that it's not in its infancy; it's close to the end, and that's kind of my point. But publicly, no, it'll be exactly how you laid out. It'll be an announcement that we're leaving. It'll be a as you phrased, a long runway. I think when you were talking about how the Clemson folks were phrasing it, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And we'll just see how all that lays out. But yes, sir, I think that's the way it's going to go, and I think you're going to continue to hear some rumors. And I don't know, maybe if things, I don't know why it's leaking out now, but. I guess in the end the season's over and everybody's frustrated. So maybe it just seems like every time you turn your head, ESPN's thumbing a nose in your eyes. just kind of like, you know what? Let's just get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, but no, I think you're right, and I understand why you did the show tonight, because you don't want to get lumped in with the rumor sites. You want to stay in your own lane, you know.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. All right, sir. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, JD. Appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Call.
Call from
Crab cakes and football.
Crab cakes and football. First of all, crab cakes and football, let me make sure you are officially knighted cloak and dagger style, because you are an early peak member. I have failed to knight you. I apologize. So here you go. You are an early peak member. Can I go through a couple things first, crab cakes and football?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you so very much. I have not done this for tonight yet. Crab cakes and football, him calling me, got me thinking here. Early peak membership gives you the early drop and information, cloak and dagger information that we provide for the PATC community. It's just $5.99 a month. You get membership only episodes coming out at you a couple times a week. We talk about anything in college football, things that we can't quite get to on the live show, plus the first drop of information in regards to, well, cloak and dagger stuff going on in college football. So if you're interested, go to the link provided in the description. There's a link provided. Hit that, hit the join button, and become an early peak member. And one more thing, before we get to your call, crab cakes and football, check it out, puts out a comment, and I failed to get to this in my last live show, and so far this live show, and check it out, reminded me of it. Florida State University taps JP Morgan, right? We heard that story in the summer. No update of this potential investors, by the way. You're absolutely correct. Check it out. And by the way, I've talked to people who are in the world of college football reporting, and let's just say there's been some poking and prodding on this. There's been some Freedom of Information Act stuff on this, and just to see if there's been any communications. I have not been able to report to you all anything different, but this is something that this is something that could have meat on the bone, where maybe there's some public communication. Florida State is a public university. People are checking into this. Check it out. So buckle up. We'll see if there's anything new here real soon on that story. Crab cakes and football. Thanks for your patience. The floor is yours, Mr. Terrapin.
Hey, how you doing today, Greg?
Doing good, sir.
I'm just calling in because I'm pretty much done with my weekend, or going on my weekend, and I just wanted to sit there and comment on a couple of things that were mentioned. I've never known the SEC to move fast on anything. They've always been, they did get ahead of the game a little bit when they invited Missouri and Texas A&M, and then they waited until Oklahoma and Texas called them before they brought them in, and they've really been sit and pat. And I've noticed the Big Ten has been a little bit more eager to grow. I mean, Petiti said, Oregon and Washington was more of a network thing than it was them. I tend to believe that. But everybody has been waiting patiently, knowing that eventually it's going to happen for the ACC to fall apart. And I think everybody's getting overly eager to see the ACC fall apart. It's like watching a car crash in NASCAR and seeing how bad it's going to get, and then if the person walks away okay. So, this is like a car crash forming between the SEC and the Big Ten colliding for these properties. The SEC is not going to take but a couple of schools, I don't think. I don't even think they're really interested in going to 20 right off the hand. I think they might get to 18 just because Big Ten's already at 18. And I think the Big Ten is trying to jump in front of the SEC because they know if the big SEC eats first, they're going to get whatever properties they want first, and then that's going to hurt what the Big Ten is trying to do. So I think FSU is on the table for both, but I do think the ESPN thing really really helps the Big Ten and hurts the SEC in the long run. I do think the UNC with the chancellor that gets hired will be the indicator of what happens there. So, for the sake of me talking and babbling on for too long, I'm thinking that if they do announce anything, it's not going to be for 24 or 25. It'll be at the earliest, it'll be 26. That anything could actually happen. They could announce it whenever, but I don't think they will actually move until 26. That's what I'm thinking because of the money, of the negotiations, of the possible lawsuits, of the politics, of everything. So that's the one thing. And the second, with the, you breaking the news about the Virginia Tech and Virginia being joined at the hip, I think they'd fall to the bottom of the line of everything because it's going to be hard to separate them, and I don't know if either conference wants both of them. So that being said, UNC's value goes up extremely high because now they're joined with state, but I don't think they're like legally joined with state. So I think if FSU does decide to leave, whenever they decide to leave, and that I think it will be the Big Ten, and I think they're going to be waiting on the decision of UNC and see what UNC does, and at that point you'll find out if it's going to be Clemson, Miami, or Georgia Tech, or whoever else that comes. But I don't think it's going to be 24 anytime soon. I think it stops at 20 for the Big Ten, unless Notre Dame joins in, which that's not going to be for a very long time, and then I think I don't see the SEC. They're moving like snails. I think they just want one or two properties, and that's it. They're not trying to ruin their brand or do anything with their brand. That's why they never went out west, because their brand's not out west. So that's just my take on that.
Okay.
So, and I'm curious to hear what you got to say. I'm headed to the house, so I'll be listening to you while I'm driving.
You got it. I will make a comment.
All right,
Thank
man.
you, sir. Appreciate it, Pat.
All right, thanks.
Football.
All right.
You got it. I would not say the SEC is moving like snails. In the past, the SEC, look, they were the first conference to have an SEC conference championship game. Now, and also, the schools call the conference first, so it's not like the SEC can go on about calling these schools looking for expansion candidates. The SEC, we believe, and we reported this a couple of months ago, and we're going to keep reporting it, the SEC is way more aggressive in this, in the Holy Smokes Theater than they were 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6. It's changed. It has changed. And I believe what they're really focusing on is North Carolina. And I keep going back to this. There's a couple, within this huge big story of the ACC implosion, there's a big couple giant stories within it. And again, this is what I said on December 6th on a tweet: decision on who replaces Kevin Guslowich as the next chancellor of North Carolina would demonstrate what faction at Chapel Hill actually has the power moving forward in making the monumental realignment decision if one presents itself to the institution within the next couple of years. And then December 8th, 2 days later, Brian Murphy, about a day and a half later, the next UNC Chancellor may have to decide what athletic conference the Tar Heels play in, a move that could have huge implications for the university, the state, the ACC, other UNC system schools, most notably North Carolina State, and its rivalry with Duke. No biggie. That is a monster of a story. And it's being played out right now. And I believe, we've said this, we have reasons to believe the SEC is being mighty aggressive. Those in UNC Chapel Hill that wants UNC to be an SEC school a couple years down the road from here, they're going to battle tooth and nail to make sure they get their person in as the Chancellor of North Carolina. Calvin Gusowich has basically had enough. He went on to Michigan State. We said he was the silent voice of the pro-Big Ten faction, along with Bubba Cunningham. But the donors are split. Majority of them are SEC. There's a couple big ones that are Big Ten. This is not a secret. It doesn't get reported on, but I'm reporting it to you. It's not something that college football reporters report on a lot, the money perch, but this is what we deliver to you. So the SEC, the faction, the pro faction, the SEC faction, it's the battle is on. The battle is on. The heart and soul of North Carolina. What are they going to be in the future? The battle, it's happening right now. And we have a particular, we're pretty good. We're feeling pretty good here at Peek Around the Corner. We feel pretty good about, we think we're going to be able to give you a good peek inside that battle in the days and weeks ahead. I think we got we're sitting in a good perch, money perch. We're sitting in a good spot that we think we can actually give you really good, informative peeks into what's going on at North Carolina. But that is a big story. Because, you know, if there's a if the pro SEC faction at Chapel Hill gets their person into that chair, the SEC is going to know that, right? And now that changes maybe the chessboard a little bit, and that could have a domino effect on what happens with the other schools in the ACC. Remember, the dominoes, the biggest domino always falls first in realignment in the next wave. And North Carolina is the big domino. In the SEC, we think they're making their move. And we also believe that we know this. Not believe, we know that there's the donor element of North Carolina has pressed forward on the Big Ten situation. That's why we did an update a few months ago in the Holy Smokes Theater about the masked man coming in and dropping those blue and white hockey skates next to Tony Petitti. But the SEC is, Mike Gusowich leaving is good news for the SEC faction. And I think they're making their move. And that's going to have an effect on whatever else happens. So that is a big story. That's a huge story. And then, of course, what Crabcakes from football said, you know, the Virginia Tech and Virginia being tied at the hip. I mean, you know, if Virginia's going to try to separate themselves from Virginia Tech, that's not going to be played out in a day. If Virginia successfully delodges themselves from Virginia Tech, if Virginia can go to the SEC, alone, or to the Big Ten alone. And the circumstances of Virginia Tech is in the ACC, remains in the ACC, or eventually goes to the Big 12. That's not going to happen in a day, in a week, in a month. That is going to be some incredible heavy lifting by Virginia. Unbelievable heavy lifting. It's going to take a whole lot of patience from whatever conference tabs Virginia as a candidate. Because those two schools, and it's not just the Attorney General, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to those two schools being tied at the hip. And that perception being told to us is coming from the University of Virginia, not Virginia Tech. And I can only imagine Virginia Tech believes the same thing. Big stories, big stories among this gigantic story of the ACC implosion. How does it happen? When does it happen? We think the next major part of it is in the first quarter of 2024, where in some fashion, some way, some manner, at some date in those 3 months, that Florida State declares their intentions to be leaving the ACC. And we think Clemson as well. We have separate information on Clemson, which only makes what we believe at Florida State happening, only makes it, we're even more confident about Florida State, because separate people, separate sources, separate world, Clemson world, are confirming everything we believe to be what's going on at Florida State. And I think that's also happening with other college football reporters. That's all I can say. Hopefully I was clear, but not too clear in what I'm saying. Okay, let's get back. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. If you want to support this show with a donation, hit the $ with a comment. Super chat will get you a comment right away. But please, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. If you like our content, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you get yourself notification, universally notified, because we can come on live at any time. We come on late at night. We do PATC live shows, breakfast shows. We do lunch shows. We come on live at any time during the day. We're dropping episodes always. Always we're dropping episodes. We dropped an episode this morning on Dylan Gabriel becoming a duck. So to know when we're dropping, when we're going live, you got to make sure you are notified. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. If you like the content, please smash the like button. If you don't like the content, hit the thumbs down button and then let us know in the chat how better we can serve you, the college football consumer, for better content. You can say it in the comments section, or you can send me a tweet at Flug Empire. We always want to improve. Okay, back to the chat, back to the phone calls. And another reason why that the perception that the Big Ten's been more aggressive is the Big Ten had to become a national conference. Had to become a national conference. The SEC doesn't have to become a national conference. The SEC is so valuable as it is. Now, that's why probably Virginia and North Carolina are the top targets, because it keeps them in the same region, but yet it increases their footprint. But Big Ten had to become a national conference. Jim Delaney figured that out years ago. He said, we've got to become a 2-region conference. And that's when they went to the East. They are always going to expand with the 13th and 14th school on the East Coast. They went with Rutgers in Maryland because Virginia and North Carolina were not interested. They went with Rutgers because Maryland accepted. If Maryland would not have accepted, Rutgers would not have gotten the 14th spot. They were always going to go east with 13 and 14. And then when they went 15 and 16, the Big Ten, with USC, UCLA, we broke the news nationally, March 31st, 2022, that USC called the Big Ten. If you're new to the channel, go to our Twitter feed, X account, at Flag Empire. The pinned tweet goes through the Los Angeles Times, doing an interview with us, writing an article, front page, how we broke that news. We also broke it down in episode 22 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Go to episode 22. We go through the whole 3 months on how we broke the news, USC to the Big Ten. When Big Ten got 15 and 16, we sat here at Peek Around the Corner. We said the Big Ten's going to go west again before they go east. They were going to go west again. They were not going to leave USC and UCLA home on an island. They wanted to go west. Fox wanted Oregon and Washington before they went east. And boy, we got raked over the coals. But look what happened. Now the Big Ten is going to go east. They're going to find their way east somehow, some way, someday. So the Big Ten had to become national. Plus they have national advertisers. The two conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, have different advertisers. It's just two different worlds. So there's a lot of differences between the two conferences. Not one is not bad, one is not good, but they're just different from each other. The way ESPN, the advertisers they get versus the advertisers that Fox Sports gets. The Big Ten Network is distributing, they're increasing their distribution to the Big Ten schools each and every year, just by a little bit, not too much. We're talking literally tens of thousands of dollars increases, not $1 million, not even $100,000 per increase. All these Big Ten schools are making about $8 to $9 million on the Big Ten Network. And while the subscriptions of the Big Ten Network are going down, along with everybody else, ESPN, everybody's subscription numbers are going down. The reason why the Big Ten Network has been able to increase distribution to the schools, which, by the way, USC and UCLA are going to get full distribution right away, 2024. The reason why that money keeps going up, because the ad money keeps going up. Big Ten Network makes way more in advertising money today than it did 10 years ago, the birth of the Big Ten Network. I'm going into things that people are probably not interested in, but so the SEC's been aggressive. It's just a different model. It's a different model. And we can tell you that the SEC is being highly aggressive in Chapel Hill. Let's put it that way. Okay. Back to the comments. Phone calls. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Thank you very much. Check it out. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the kind comments that I've been put in the chat tonight. Thank you, Stephen McNeely. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Check it out. Appreciate it. Thank you, Expedition Greg. Appreciate it very much. The AAU really hasn't ever. They have. Well, let's be clear. They're a private organization in which the members vote, and supposedly they have criteria which the voters go by. But there's probably a lot of horse trading going on in the AAU, a lot of politics. William Blake, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Big Ten guy here. My preference is Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, and the rambling wreck of Georgia Tech. So we're, again, no news. I'm just going to take a quick moment here just to make sure we didn't miss anything. No news again on Riley Leonard. It's just so Riley Leonard visit South Bend, Indiana on, I believe, Wednesday and Thursday, 2 days. And he hasn't committed to Notre Dame. Nebraska and Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord has not yet committed to Nebraska. And then you have the question of Cameron Ward. He's got like 5 schools. It sounds like he's going to Miami next to visit Miami. I would have thought, my number one thought when I saw that that Dylan Gabriel went to Oregon, and we put out an episode 342. If you've missed it, check it out. Early this morning, I thought that was going to be like where we would get some more pieces to follow. Like that was like the start of the logjam.
Call from
Steve.
Steve, Mr. Bearcat, the floor is yours, sir. How you doing?
Good. How are you? I haven't talked to you for a few days, so I thought I'd call in here. Greg, what is, in your estimation, or people that know more about it than I do, what's the total amount of money that it's going to take with the exit fee and the grant of rights? What's a figure that each member would have to pay to get out of the ACC when it's ultimately?
First of all, I have no idea. I'm going to give you a guess, though. Okay? But I have no... I mean, obviously, that would be part of the negotiations, right?
Correct.
So, I don't know. But let me take a wild guess. The exit fee, according to the ACC... Now, this is a wild guess, Steve, okay?
Yep.
The ACC... according to the ACC bylaws and the way people believe it to be, is the exit fee is 3 years of media money is the exit fee. So therefore about $120 million.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
History has shown us that schools have negotiated out of the exit fee at 60% of what they were supposed to owe.
Pretty much what Texas and Oklahoma did with the Big 12. Yep.
So that would be what, $80 million. Let's just say $80 million.
Yep.
Okay. 80 million. Then you've got 12 years left of the Gore.
Yeah.
And you've got the lawyers on the ACC side will say damages this, damages that. So we're taking a wild guess. But if it's going to be, let's say it's going to be $28, $27 million, $26 million for each year, taking another 60% of the 13 years. Let's just make it around $320 million. $320 million plus $80 million. My wild guess is $400 million.
Okay.
I could be off by $300 million either way. But,
well, I was thinking after everything gets done, after everything's negotiated, I'm thinking 250 to 300,000 total. I really am, and 300 probably closer than 250. Once everything.
Are you talking million or thousand?
Million.
Okay. You said million. Got it. So you're a little less than
thousand.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think once everything gets negotiated down, once everybody knows where everybody stands, and I truly think that people who believe that there's going to be let's make this assumption, because I heard a very well-known network guy say these conferences have to stop somewhere, and 20 is probably a good stopping point, because then you turn into the law of diminishing marginal returns. You can very well do that, So I'm going to be of the assumption that 20 for the SEC, 20 for the Big 10, 20 for the Big 12. So that means, let's say the SEC goes first and says, all right, we're taking 4 to get to 20. Big 10 says, okay, we'll take 2 to get to 20. And people think that there's going to be this huge war chest, and it's going to be pretty sizable for the ACC, that Louisville, Pitt, whoever's left are going to sit around and go, well, we got to have some of that money. Well, what it's going to be is it's going to be negotiated by the teams, and I guarantee you the remaining members of the original ACC is going to say, whoa, SMU, whoa, Cal, whoa, Stanford, you ain't getting what we're getting out of this deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You might get a little piece of the pie, but you're not getting a whole lot.
That's true.
So if it's $300 million, there's 30. There's 30, or you look at the teams left over, the 8 that are going to be left over, or 9. That's $3 million. In this day and age, Greg, that's a drop in the bucket. I mean, they'll take it. That's $3 million. That's not a lot. That's not like, we're in the money now, we never have to leave the ACC. I think, and then the composition clause that the ACC Network and ESPN can come in and say, well, we did analysis, and this is what the market's saying, and this is what your value is now of the conference. And you haven't backfilled, and we know what you're going to backfill with. Probably Oregon State, Washington State, and some P5s. Well, that's not going to raise your value to where it was when Clemson, Florida State, and the Carolinas, and the Virginias, and Virginia Techs were there. So I just got to believe that whoever's sitting around, i.e. Pitt, Louisville, whoever, are going to look around and go, so we're going to take, ESPN and ACC's telling us we're going to take a $3 or $4 million hit on our media rights until 2036. I just think they're thinking we couldn't get out of the ACC fast enough. Mm-hmm. Am I off?
No, I don't think you're
off there?
I don't think you're off.
I just think that the Big 12 will get what they want, or not what they want, but what's valuable enough to them.
Yep, I agree.
I don't see nothing against what's going to be left over in the in the ACC, but the trajectories of the two conferences, if all this comes to fruition, I would see the Big 12's trajectory going up, and maybe the ACC staying stagnant or maybe decreasing a little bit. So it's going to be, to me, it's going to be interesting to see how many's left, what their value is going to be with their media partner, and who stays after the Big Ten and SEC decide who they want.
Yeah.
I mean, is that, to me, it makes sense. But to some other people in that world, it may not make sense.
No, I think you paint a reasonable picture of what could possibly happen, Steve.
And here's the other thing, Greg.
Yep.
Here's the other thing, and I know there's a lot to be settled at North Carolina. I get that.
There's a lot going on there.
But they talked about a men's hockey team. Have they looked at the exorbitant costs to have a college hockey team?
Yes, they have spent a lot of time on it. There is a couple of donors that really want it to happen. I really feel that in about 6 to 7 years, they're going to have a Division I men's team and probably a women's team in an arena that's going to be about 3,000. And it's going to cost them about $100 million to get it up and running. But I think we have information on all that. I think it's going to happen. So it's going to be a lot, but it's going to be mainly a couple donors that are going to make it happen.
Okay, so let me throw this at you. They sure as hell ain't playing hockey in the SEC.
Well, they won't have to. They won't have to.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But if they're going into the SEC in all other sports, I know they can play in the Northeast hockey.
Yeah.
I know they could probably play in the Big Ten. I know they could probably play, in a lot of different, the several different hockey conferences.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, that if they ever wanted to play in the Big Ten, that the SEC would probably not look favorably on that.
Yeah, probably not. And it's just another layer to the North Carolina, what's going on there.
Yep.
It's just
That's why I
layer
bring that
to
up. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And got good news in Cincinnati this week with Sorsby. So
yes, very good news. Brandon Sorsby.
I think that kid,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that kid will be a player before it's over. He's got 3 years of eligibility left. I've watched him. And I don't know if I mentioned to it the other day, Satterfield had Corleone and the All-American punter at a press conference, and Satterfield said, these seniors on this team, these leaders on this team are going to vet the transfer candidates just as much as the coaches are. Mm-hmm. And Corleone made the statement, he said, if you don't want to work if you're not going to be a team player, forget about us. So, we'll see who that draws in or out. Now, I know they got a kid from Eastern Michigan today or yesterday who played high school ball at the Cincinnati area, and everybody's saying he can play. He can play in the Power 4, Power 5. He's that good, and he's got a couple years eligibility left. So, as I told you before, a long way to go there, but I at least like what I hear from how they're going to approach this, because, as I told you, Satterfield knows it's pretty common knowledge he needs 8 wins next year.
Yeah.
Because nobody in Cincinnati is used to this stuff, For the last 20 years, they're not used to this stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it all transpires. And I just knew what was going to happen when Fickle left, and it did. Everybody else, not only me, but everybody knew what was going to happen when Fickle left, and it happened.
Yeah.
But now it's a lot easier to, in the transfer portal, at least bring yourself back to respectability. And that's what I think, he needs to do.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Greg, I just wanted to touch base on that, on the ACC as a whole. You know what I mean? I think the 3 conferences that are sitting here, and, can the ACC survive? Yeah, they can backfill with Washington State, Oregon State, Tulane, Memphis, USF, whoever. They can survive. But can they survive with 10 teams leaving, Greg?
I don't know. We may find out.
Look at what happened to the Pac.
Yep.
How many teams they lost? Can the ACC survive that? That's one thing that I just wonder. I just wonder how it's all going to play out, and I think it's going to play out faster than. I think by 2/26 we'll know where everybody is.
I think so. I think you're correct.
Maybe I'm wrong. That's just my hunch. I think the college football playoff wants to know who's who and who's where and what everybody's doing. And, when the new playoff system, and I agree with you, I think it's 16 teams. After 24, 25, I think it's 16 teams.
Yeah.
Because don't you think the money should be there for 16?
I think it would. I think it will. I know that Sports Media Podcast, Andrew Michon just said a couple of days ago that the media economy is even tighter than it was 4 or 5 months ago. So hopefully it improves in a couple of years. Hopefully we get a rebound. But yes, I would essentially agree with you. Yep.
The ad sells, like you said, the Big Ten does okay. Big Ten Network does okay. But, the economy stays flat or recesses a little more. It's going to be very difficult for the ad buy sells.
Yeah.
Going to be, they're just going to have to go down. Simple economics. So have to see how that all plays out too. So anyhow, Greg, I'll let you go. I've talked long enough. I appreciate your opinion, and have a good evening.
You got it. Thank you, Bearcat Steve. Great call once again. Rick Olson, watch out. Big Ten, the Ducks are coming. The one good news coming out of the Dylan Gabriel going to Oregon is, and he's got 1 year of eligibility, is my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers do not play Oregon next year. And thank you so much for those who corrected me in the comments section in that episode that we put out this morning. Oregon does not play the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They play the Oregon State, the Civil War game, where they were going to play the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I got the message. Thank you so much for everybody correcting me on that. Oregon plays at Ann Arbor in the Big House, and they play at home against Ohio State. They play at Camp Randall in Wisconsin. Dylan Gabriel coming to Big Ten country with the Oregon Ducks. It's going to be fun to watch, but I'm feeling really good about my beloved Golden Gophers in this portal. Last year, it was a train wreck, and I said so, and that's why I said Minnesota was going to take a couple steps back and go 6-6. They finished 5-7. But this year, Dinky Town Athletics, the money poured in there. We were able to keep all of our guys, except for the quarterback, which is fine. We went and got ourselves the best FCS quarterback in the nation. But we kept all of our guys. Every guy that we wanted to keep, we've kept. And it's because of Dinky Town Athletics. So, but having said all that, we need to get lucky. We need to get some guys in here that can play in the back seven. That's still going to be our Achilles heel next year. It's going to be a big one. Good quarterbacks are going to throw for a lot of yards on my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. But it's not going to be Dylan Gabriel. Whew. Thank goodness, because we don't play Oregon. Kenneth Maynard, thank you so much for the super chat. Wake Forest just opened an incredible $38 million football facility this summer. Probably the best in the ACC. Big donors and a growing brand. They are making the right investments for the future. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Again, for your continued generosity to this channel. Just one of so many examples. You know, when we're talking about if that Charlie Baker, the NCAA proposal, if it goes through, as it's written, it's not going to go through as written, but if it goes through as close that it's written, what schools are going to opt in, what schools are going to opt out. I am of the mind that just about everybody, if not everybody, from the autonomy conferences are going to opt in, and Kenneth Maynard's comment is an example why. Because these schools have invested so much money, especially in recent years, so much money. For them to opt out is an automatic devaluation of their entire athletic department, not just their football program. And again, another reason why I think everyone's going to opt in is because whatever passes within the NCAA, it's going to be negotiated, and there's a whole lot of votes. I mean, it's going to be negotiated to where it sets the bar at where most schools are going to be able to opt in. Now, on the other flip side of that, is it going to be negotiated at a point where is it going to bring enough additional compensation to the student athletes to where it would move Congress to make a bipartisan deal to create a carve-out for an exception for college athletics to be able to do all this without having the student athletes become employees. Anyways, that's just a lot of verbiage I just spewed out. Will Cam Martinez make it to mini? I don't think so. We have not offered. Gophers have not offered. Greg, Texas Tech is now going to play Washington State that week. I made a mistake in that episode, and I thank everybody for correcting me. But anyways, we're going to close up this live show. We've been on for over 2 hours. It was just going to be a short live show, but we got so many phone calls, so many people coming in the chat. I appreciate all you so very much for the wonderful donations, for the wonderful comments, the incredible phone calls. Before you leave this channel, make sure if you're new to the channel subscribe to the channel and get yourself notified, because we're going to come on. We could be coming on tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. You never know here at Peek Around the Corner. We're dropping episodes, doing live shows. We have the early peak membership. If you want to become an early peak member, hit the join button. There is a description. There's a link in the description. You can join. Give it a look. So we're headed into the bowl season. We're going to be doing live shows and episodes covering all the bowl games. It's going to be quite interesting because there's so many people in the portal who are moving on to the NFL draft, but we're going to do the best we can to figure out who's actually playing in these bowl games, and of course, the college football playoffs. The Michigan Wolverines versus the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Washington Huskies. Holy smokes. Washington. Are they going to be able to pull this all off? Are they going to be able to beat the Texas Longhorns? Are they going to be able to beat the winner of Alabama and Michigan? It could be. It could be. So buckle up, brace for impact, and we'll catch you on the next live show. So from all of us at PATC to all of you, until next time, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.